Since we are talking about comics and you, sir, are a comic creator, tell me about your works that you create in 7 words.
Oh, in some words, I
In seven
can I
words.
can do them in six.
Pitch me your
Uh,
comic.
the Band of the Black Fist.
Band
That's
of
my
the
six
Black
words.
Fist. What can you tell me
There's
about
my
the
pitch.
Band of the Black Fist?
Well, it's a fantasy story, and it is um, based in the far future. And the survivors of an elite mercenary troop have to put aside their grief and their differences to protect the royal bloodline from a monstrous enemy out for revenge. So the story begins at the end of the story that we always watch, which is the grand epic quest and the war.
Before we move on, this video is brought to you by Purgatory Academy, a drama series about heaven, hell, and having 4 years to decide. Chimera Island, a slice of life series about a hidden island striving to find balance. Let's Go Metal Hero, a superhero series about two siblings who want to turn a robot into a, well, superhero. And Just a Reaper, an action comedy series about a young Grim Reaper trying to keep hell off Earth. Read these series for free with the pinned comment below and sign up to the newsletter to never miss an update. Back to the video.
And we're always like, there's always a great eye in the sky, a great evil. Um, you got to travel somewhere. It's usually on the other side of the continent to get something to destroy that evil. And that's all happened. And it's literally just ended. And the story is about these group of mercenaries who ended up being the ones to go on the quest to get the doohickey to save the universe, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they do the thing, they come back, they save the world, but most of them die. And the story begins with the survivors kind of making their way home, trying to figure out what they're going to do.
So literally after, like the aftermath of just rebuilding, the story about rebuilding.
It's, yeah, finding your way in the world that's, moved on from you, the
Mm.
world that no longer needs you. Um, Now, and while you're dealing with that, uh, dealing with the other things, like you said, rebuilding, this immense grief, this guilt. Uh, all their friends died, and they're the only ones left.
Hmm.
Now, it was a full-out mercenary company. There were a score. There were 20 of them. There's only 3 of them left, and they literally don't know what they're going to do with themselves. Uh, in this world, it's the continent's called Tarsus, and the war was a magical one. But one of the consequences of that war is the magic in this realm has been destroyed. So that's another gigantic change, to the entire landscape of the world they live in.
So
While
the
all the things are going on with them, yes,
so what you're saying that the magic is something that's new to the people and that like changed the game of the changed the game of warfare in a way.
in that world, magic no longer exists.
Oh, okay, so it's gone. So
Yeah,
the game
in
has been
that during that
changed.
war, it was destroyed. Yeah, game's
Okay.
changed. Game has changed.
Okay. So one thing that that was kind of interesting to me is that you said it was like a fantasy setting that's set in the future, and I thought that was very interesting because usually when people want to tell stories in the past, they go to fantasy, but if they want to tell stories in the future, they go to sci-fi.
Right.
So what was the biggest inspiration that wanted you to make that switcheroo to tell set
Um,
us to tell a story that's fantasy but set in the future?
a couple reasons. The first one is because of what you said. Most of the time, they are in the past, um, and you have to deal with all the things that came in the past, um, or you have to create new ones for your setting.
Hmm.
The story originally was a really long and meandering and not very good novel that I've written in my 20s, um, which was The War and the Quest. Uh, and there were some elements in there, when I was digging in my idea book, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember this, 300 pages of nothing, like it went nowhere, but it was my fantasy epic. But taking elements from that setting was always meant to be thousands of years from now in this future. And the way I'd imagine it was there was a catastrophe, um, a space station, lost orbit, crashed to Earth, kind of wrecked everything. It was an extinction level event.
Okay.
And as a result of that, mankind was, slowly but surely, humanity was dying out. Everybody wasn't gone. There were survivors and things were happening, but the landscape was changed. The world as we know it was changed. Things that are wet are now dry. Things that are dry are now mountains. And, whole other areas were now at the bottom of the sea.
Okay. What?
So from that,
Oh, sorry.
yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, hit me.
I was interested. I was like, what experiences have you pulled from your life that you put into your story?
Uh, well, I was a 24-hour-a-day athlete for the first half of my life.
24-hour a day athlete. What can you tell me
24
about
hour a
that?
day.
What
I
can
was
you
a
tell me
swimmer.
about that?
I was a swimmer. I went to Olympic trials. I was on the national team for a minute. Had a world ranking for a second. Uh, in back in the day.
Okay.
So I was always in the pool. I was always training. I was the athlete. Um, when that went away, and that ended after college, I had no idea what I was going to do with myself. I didn't even really know, like, my entire identity was this kid in a Speedo. So, no more Speedo. Now what? I had no clue. So, I drew very deeply on those kinds of feelings of, kind of aimlessness and those kind of things, going from a place of really strongly knowing who you are, knowing what you're about, knowing what your purpose is and what it is you do, and then having all that vanish literally overnight, like in an instant. Not even, you didn't even have the night to sleep it off. Um, and it
Mm-hmm.
was this weird, bizarre 10-month uh, soul searching exploration at the time. So I drew on uh, a lot of that for to kind of sprinkle on top of the characters. At the same time, while I was hip deep, like hip deep in the scripting of this story, my mother was upstairs dying of cancer.
Mm.
So it was like this weird grief, like pre grief, because why are you sad? Like she's still here. Why are you even down here behind the screen? You should be up there, like upstairs, spending time with her. Um, and she was super into it. She's like, "You're writing your comic, like do your thing." Um, so there was a lot of uh, I don't want to say bittersweet, but they were things happening, in the world in my little atmosphere while I was writing about these characters who were dealing with very very similar things.
It sounds
Um,
like a
look,
really parently thing to do to see like their child be very interested, very passionate about something. And I think that's what a parent would really at the end of the day they would really want their child to find something that they love and they want to carry on their legacy because
and
as
do it
soon,
endlessly. Yes.
yeah, so at the end of the day, like yeah, you would wish like you would spend more time with her, but but when she talked to you, like when she talks to you, it sounds like she felt like she'd done her job and she done her job correctly. And
Yeah, it was awesome. It was
yeah,
awesome.
so
She was so into it. And eventually I figured out I can do two things. Like I can actually go upstairs and sit with her and write this script, and I was getting stuff back from the artist and, moving stuff around and doing dialogue. And yeah, it was great. Having her be a part of it. And the book is actually dedicated to her.
that's amazing.